All right, welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to be live streaming on Instagram as well as on my YouTube channel. If you're interested in sculpting, I hope you'll check out the links in my bio if you're on Instagram, or the links in the description if you're on YouTube. I'm going to be continuing my work on this acrobat female figure study sculpture that I was working on, or that I started during these live streams. And so if you'd like to see the process of sculpting it up to this point, you can find all of those live streams on my YouTube channel. And so those have been from the past little while. Yeah, if you have questions, let me know as I'm going. I'll try to keep an eye out for those questions. And I'll just be working primarily on texturing and getting some of the details established on this one. I'm going to take it off of the base just because I'll mess up the wrists if I leave it there, because I'll be moving it around a lot. Maybe I'll also work on the portrait a little bit, and for that I'm not going to use reference. I'll just kind of invent the portrait. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. People are saying hi, hello, welcome. And again, if you have questions, just let me know. I'll try to answer those as best I can while I'm sculpting. Let me move this a little bit closer so that you can see what I'm working on. And this one as well. Sir, why do you use a mirror while sculpting? There's a mirror right here. It's just so that people on my YouTube can see my face. People have mentioned that they prefer when they can see me while I'm sculpting, and so it's just directed at the camera so that while I'm talking and while I'm sculpting, people can see that there's that connection there, which people have mentioned that they prefer. So it's just for that. It's not pointing at the Instagram camera just because I can only point a mirror at one. So I want a translation. I would like to understand. But I'm an Arab and I find it difficult. You can look on my YouTube channel, so the Andrew Joseph Keith YouTube channel, though I guess if you can't understand this, then this isn't much help. But I believe they have live translations for the live streams that you can activate on YouTube. I'm not positive about that, but it looks like some of those are able to be translated live or after the fact using AI. So it's not a perfect translation probably, but it's better than nothing. So if you're watching this in another language, then or if you speak another language other than English, then you might try watching this on my YouTube channel, the Andrew Joseph Keith YouTube channel. And those lives, I believe you can translate. So technology, pretty amazing. What clay are you using? This is Chavant NSP medium clay. Going to be adding the ears. Do you have a YouTube channel? Yes, it's Andrew Joseph Keith. So if you just type my name into YouTube, and I'm live streaming to that YouTube channel, and I also have tons of free video lessons and content, a bunch of content. So if you're not subscribed at YouTube, I definitely recommend subscribing over there. Please recommend dry clay, an air dry clay, I think is the question. I can't recommend one just because I haven't experimented enough with air dry clay, with drying clays to be able to make a recommendation. But you might just try the ones that you have available that are the budget ones, and try out a small amount first. And then if you like it, you can get more. I've seen some at Walmart, but I just haven't tried it out because I've heard that it cracks, and I don't like that. Though maybe some of the higher quality ones don't. There's not as much of an issue with it cracking, so I'm not positive about that. Let's see. I'm gonna lower this. I study sculpture, so I'm very interested in this field. Yeah, if you're interested in sculpting, then I definitely recommend going to the link in my bio, and there's a free PDF, a free figure sculpting assignment checklist, and it has links to all of my free lessons for the figure sculpting fundamentals course. So you can watch all of the free lessons. It also has the links to the premium lessons if you get the full figure sculpting fundamentals course. But if you just want to take advantage of the free content, that's why I made the assignment checklist, and it's a great resource for anybody that wants to get into sculpting. And there's, if you get that PDF, you'll see that I try to cover everything. So from building wire armatures to stands and proportions of the body, types of clay, types of tools, how to make your own tools. What else do we cover? I mean, just, the proportions, simplifying the figure, texturing, a little bit of mold making even. So if you want something that's just kind of a general overview of sculpting, then I definitely recommend checking out that free PDF. Do you use guitar string tools? I got some guitar string for making tools, for making some of the homemade tools, like this one is a homemade one. This one's just with paper clamp, like the ends of a paper clamp. So, but I did get some guitar strings to make my own tools, but never ended up actually making the tools with guitar string. Or maybe I made one, but I just didn't find it that helpful compared to the other tools. So I don't use guitar string tools very much. But I've seen people that do use them, and they work great. And being able to build your own tools is a great skill for any sculptor. Do you sculpt animals and other things? I pretty much stick to figurative unless there's like a commission. If somebody asked me to sculpt like their pet or something, I'd be willing to do that. But I'm just more interested in people than animals. I think people are more interesting, more beautiful, and more inspiring to me as an artist than animals. But there's many great artists that do focus on on animals and or landscapes or all kinds of things. So there's a niche for everything, but I just find people to be the most interesting, so I kind of stick to people. I have difficulty understanding you, but I think you mean you have a special course or a course on YouTube. Yes, so there's if you go to the link in my bio on Instagram, or the links in the description if you're on YouTube, there's a free PDF, the figure sculpting assignment checklist, and you can download that, and that has links to all of the free lessons from my courses. So it's a free resource. And then, yeah, the full course is on Proco. So somebody's mentioned that I have a Proco course. Yeah, but the Proco course has a bunch of free lessons. So that's what the figure assignment PDF is, has links to all of the free lessons and the premium lessons. So, yeah, I have a YouTube channel. Yeah, somebody said he has a YouTube channel, very informative. He has a course on Proco. Yep. Which clay are you using in this sculpture? This is Chavant NSP clay. It's a non-drying oil and wax-based clay that's for mold making or for reusing. So that's why I like this one. Onyx Loves on YouTube says hi. Hello. Welcome to another sculpting session. And here we are, once again, trying to make something. Well, this portrait is not it's not looking that great up to this point. It's kind of presenting some challenges, but the portrait's always difficult, so it takes a little bit to get it looking good. Let's move the ears down a little bit. Okay, I understand. I'm sorry if I asked too many questions. Oh, no problem. No, it helps when people ask questions, and yeah, I try to clarify as much as I can. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask those about sculpture, about life, about anything. I'll talk about anything. Amazing, sir. Somebody said, amazing, sir. Keep going. Due to my BFA courses, I'm missing your classes. Oh yeah, well, got to get that BFA. Yeah, I got a BFA in sculpting. So that's what I chose to do. I don't know if I'd recommend it, honestly, but I did do that. So he's saying he's very humble and cute. He has a lot of patience. Okay, calm down. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, try to. I mean, sculpting is something that requires patience, or requires just steady practice if you're going to get good at it. But really, any artistic skill is going to require patience. And as far as humility, I'm not that humble. So how could you? How could I start from the beginning? Yeah, I just recommend starting with the PDF and then going through doing the assignments. Like watch the video lesson, then do the assignment for that video lesson, and then move on to the next one and just keep going. I mean, there's no way to start except to start, but that assignment checklist is a great place to start because then you can, see your progress as you do those assignments, and you can even submit work by creating a free account over at Proco.com, and that'll help you improve and basically be able to document your process as you're going. Do you feel threatened by AI? I've seen some artists who feel a little bit threatened by AI. I don't know. I'm kind of traditional, and I think AI is just gonna like emphasize the importance of man-made like artisans, because there's gonna be a perceived, well, there is a greater value to something that was created by hand from a living, breathing human being rather than through a computer program and computational, system. I think people will be able to recognize the value of that. So I'm not too worried about it. And so I wouldn't say that I worry too much about AI, like taking my job or anything. It's just, hopefully it ends up just being a tool to help us artists and others be more efficient, learn faster, create things that are more beautiful and more worthwhile. Obviously, it'll be used for other things, and hopefully not bad things, because with any tool, it gives you a lot of leverage, which means that if you're promoting something or creating something that's bad and you use a tool to do that better, then you're going to be able to spread that badness more efficiently, which is not a good thing. So hopefully AI will be used for good, is what I'm hoping. I remember in the past live you said your grandmother was an artist. What type of art did she do? So yeah, well, she took a test, like an art test where she did like drawing, I think, and she got like one of the highest scores that anybody had gotten on that test. And so she was interested in drawing and painting, but then she let it slip, or she let her life slip by without investing in being an artist and setting aside that time and discipline to do it. She just let things get in the way. So she never reached her potential as an artist, and she always expressed regret, or she expresses regret about not pursuing that. So I tell it as kind of a cautionary tale that don't let your life, if you're creative and you feel like that's part of who you want to be as a creative artist, then don't let your life slip by without setting aside that time to be creative and do things that you find worthwhile. Is this plasticine? Yeah, this is Siobhan NSP, which is a non-sulfurated plasticine. Means there's no sulfur in it. From which college did you complete your fine arts? It was Utah State University. It was a state university, and I studied sculpture, mostly stone sculpture that was abstract. So most of the realistic stuff I learned on my own. Do you have a picture that you can use to create the details, or is it just a figment of your imagination? So I had a picture that started this pose. So it started as from a photo reference. I think the photo reference was like this, but the hands were a little bit different. And so it was a single photo. And then I found another photo of the model doing a similar pose from a little bit different angle, like this angle right here. And so that's basically the only references that I've used. And now I'm just inventing from imagination. So it was inspired by a photo, but then you have to make up a lot when you're using a single reference anyway. So now I'm just making it up. Although it's not complete, I think it's very beautiful. You're creative. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see, make sure. It's the best, says somebody. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. So I'm trying to develop the features. It's a little bit difficult when you're working this small and the angle's a little bit weird. But I want to create a face that's attractive, that looks good, and that takes some time and development. I want to learn stone carving. Yeah, I'd like to do a course on stone carving, showing people how to carve stone. I might be able to do that this year. We'll see if I get to it. But doing a little, either a course or maybe just a master demo on stone carving, I think could be really fun. I do have a video on that on my YouTube channel, so you can see the process for my more abstract sculptures. But I imagine that most people that are interested in stone carving, you want to understand how to do it more in a more realistic style. So but I need to work on learning a little bit more and practicing a little bit more before I can teach that. Sir, do you sketch out before sculpting any piece? I did do that with the little bodybuilder sculpture. This one, we're here. I did I started this sculpture, and then I did a sketch afterwards of the photo reference, because I only had a single reference And so I only had a single view of the figure, and I drew that view to kind of learn as much as I could from that single reference, and then I continued and worked on developing this little sculpture. It was a fun study. I like doing those studies using a single reference because then it kind of lets you know what you don't know. It kind of shows your weaknesses, because if you don't understand what's happening with some of the muscles or joints, that becomes very apparent when you try to invent it. How long does it take to become good at sculpture? Probably just your entire life. That's what I would say. It takes a long time to be good at anything. But I'm still trying to get better. It's like how long does it take to stay in shape or to be in shape? It's like, well, maybe it takes, a couple months or a year to get in shape, but then staying in shape is a constant pursuit. So it's not like you can, with your physical body, it's not like you can get in shape once and then never exercise again and then start eating terribly and stay in shape. It's like a constant pursuit. So I'd say the same thing is true of sculpting or becoming truly great at any artistic endeavor. It's like a constant pursuit. It's not a destination. It's not a finish line that you can cross, though there are finish lines along the way. There's like you finish a piece that's great or that's well done, and then you move on to the next one. But I'd say being a great artist is more of a pursuit rather than something that where you reach it and then you're just a great artist. It's like it's like exercising. It's like staying in shape physically. It's a discipline. Where do you get stone from? So I have purchased some stone from, if you can go directly to a quarry, that's ideal. So if there's like a marble quarry or some type of quarry in your area or within 100 miles that you could drive to and pick up stone directly from the quarry, that's where it's going to be the cheapest. But there are there's 2sculpt.com if you're in the United States, the number 2 sculpt and then the number 2 sculpt. And that's a good website for sculpting tools and also sculpting materials that you can order. But shipping, is so expensive with stone. And that resource, I think he's in Kansas. So if you can go pick up the stone, that's what I did when I ordered some. And I still need to sculpt those pieces that I got. But, and then some of the stone, like the black Utah marble that I've used quite a bit, I got from Utah. I just picked it up really off the side of the road because there's a quarry where you can purchase it, but it was just like a mountain, and so where they carved out the side of the road, there's just little boulders that fall that are this black Utah marble that's actually really nice to work with. But black stone is not ideal for, I'd say it's probably not ideal for realistic carvings using chisels, just because it's kind of flaky, and the dark stone doesn't always play well with realistic textures, because there's like some like veins that run through it that are white, so it's black stone with white lightning like veins that run through it. So some of the stone, if you do some research, you can find in your area if there's good limestone. It's a limestone. The black Utah marble is technically a limestone, but or if there's quarries that have limestone. Sandstone is not really recommended, so you do want to find a good type of stone that's going to be good for sculpting that won't ruin your tools or be too toxic to work with. But 2sculpt.com is a great resource. And I've gotten some stone from there. Not a lot, though. I prefer getting it directly from the quarry if I can, just because it's cheaper. That's the cheapest place you can get it. Most of the cost of stone is transportation, so if you can find a location where you can get a decent type of limestone or marble from a quarry nearby, that's going to be the best the best way to go about it. They might even just let you grab a piece of stone that's broken off, like a 50 to 100 pound, boulder or something, and let you experiment with it. Which clay is best for sculpture? Well, it depends on what you're doing. If you want a clay that's reusable, that's for mold making, I really like this clay, which is Chavant NSP Medium. It's just a clay that I really like. But if you're interested in a clay, like a natural clay that you can fire in a kiln, then you'll have to do research on the best options for that. I don't do that very much, so I'm not super familiar with the types of clay, and usually you want to get something local or something that's not too far away, and then it becomes more cost effective. But they have different sources for natural clay all over the world, so finding a good natural clay could be good for that if you have access to a kiln. If you want something that, like the clay, can become the permanent sculpture, then you might like a polymer clay, and I just use like the cheapest granite gray polymer clay that I can find at Hobby Lobby or Walmart. And that has worked pretty well for me, and those can be painted, and you can get those to look pretty good if you take the time to paint and touch them up. I think you can use acrylic paints with those. But then there's also epoxy clay, which I want to try. I haven't tried a lot. And that one can also be turned into the finished sculpture, and it's got a pretty hard finish, and it's a good type of clay, I've heard, but I haven't used it, so I need to experiment more before I can say a specific brand or anything. But it depends on what you want out of your clay. What clay are you using now? This is Chavant NSP Medium clay. Black limestone would look beautiful as a sculpture, in my opinion. Yeah, I really like it. I really like the sculptures, but I've done a lot of the sculptures I've done in that black stone are abstract. I think abstract sculptures look really good, especially once it's polished, because then you really get to see the beautiful designs in the stone. Maybe I'll do a video sharing some of those finished sculptures that I have. And I do have some other blocks of that black limestone, but I haven't tried anything too realistic with it. But maybe I will soon at some point. I do want to get more into realistic sculpting in stone. So I need to do that. Can you play an instrument? Somebody's asking. I took violin when I was like 10. I studied violin for a couple of years. I think like 9 and 10 or something. And I could play a couple songs, but I was never able to like read music. I struggled. I was dyslexic, so I really struggled reading. Though now it seems like I'm not anymore, so I don't know what happened to that dyslexia. Well, my grandma says that she did some therapy sessions when I was younger. I don't remember, but that helped with that dyslexia. But I had trouble reading, and I had trouble reading music. But I could play by ear. I could kind of hear the tunes. So I did practice for a little bit, but I've since lost that skill. So I could not, if I tried to play the violin, it would take a lot. I'd basically have to learn it anew. But I did play the violin for a little bit, and I still like hearing and seeing talented violinists. But I'm not I'm not that good at it now. Whoa, that's cool, somebody says. Yeah, well, it would be cool if I could actually, play. I'm not, maybe I should get a violin, and because I don't even have one, maybe I should get one and try to learn again. So the face is slowly coming together. I mean, it's a little bit better than it was. And it's just, at this point, when you're just making it up, you just want to make it look like a face that somebody could have, not necessarily the specific person or anything, just so it doesn't feel unnatural. That's basically all I'm going for. I'm trying to remember where the forms are. I'm trying to think about the bone structure in the face and the proportions, getting all of that right, so that it feels right. Feels like a face that somebody could have. And then I want to try to keep it soft and feminine. So I'm trying to not lose that feminine feel with the face. Maybe that's why you like classical music. Yeah, I do. I do like some classical music, violin. That's also something my grandpa would listen to all the time, was classical music. And my great grandpa on my dad's side was actually a violin maker. So he made violins, Keith violins, and they're somewhat rare now to find them, and kind of expensive, but they're a cool thing. And when I was at the sculpture show, the Sculpture in the Park, there was an artist in the same tent as me, just a few booths over, who would take dead wood and combine it with used violins, and do these elaborate sculptures that were really interesting. And yeah, he did pretty well. I think he sold almost everything that he brought, which is pretty incredible. And He had really, really fun sculptures, and he would go and they would live in a sailboat, and he would sail around and find these scraps of driftwood and then turn it into the sculpture. So there was kind of a story behind it that was interesting, that was just part of his life, his journey as an artist. And he was one of the, well, I think one of the most successful artists at the show. I'm not sure about that, but I mean, I think he sold almost everything that he brought, which is pretty impressive. And they were all, unique, one-of-a-kind sculptures. And, yeah, that's what that reminds me of. But a bunch of violins and driftwood. Really cool, fun concept. Trying to make sure that I'm in frame. That's something that I often lose track of, or things move around in a way that's not good for recording. It'd be nice to have somebody that was like, a intern or something, someone that could focus on the recording aspect of it. Maybe when I get my own studio, I'll be able to, or when I finish the barn studio, be able to get some assistance. Though I don't know. So do you like Bernini's sculpture? Yeah, Bernini's one of my favorite sculptors as far as style goes. I think if I could sculpt like anyone in history, I would probably pick Bernini. I don't know if he was a decent person. I've heard that that he had his issues, but as far as the talent and the skill that went into his treatment of the figure, it was pretty amazing, pretty incredible. Bernini was very talented. I really like his David, the expression in the face of Bernini's David. I think it's more impressive than Michelangelo's David. But I had a disagreement with another artist current artist that I really admire, Joseph Bricky. He really likes Michelangelo, and I was saying that I liked Bernini. Anyway, that was interesting. Interesting exchange. But yeah, Bernini's style is incredible. But Michelangelo, I think, kind of made Bernini possible and kind of paved the way for artists that followed. So maybe Bernini wouldn't have been as good as he was if not for artists like Michelangelo. I think that's the point that Joseph Bricky was trying to make. Maybe. Or maybe I misunderstood. Do you know the sculptor Simone Lee? It sounds familiar. Or Simon Lee. It might be Simon instead of Simone. Maybe. I'd have to see the work. I probably recognize the work. I'm pretty terrible with names, so I mean there's a few sculptors that I recognize their names and know them. But it sounds familiar, so it's probably an artist that I follow, but I just have a hard time associating the names with the works automatically. I have to look it up. But I'm pretty sure I'm familiar because that name sounds familiar. She's starting to look good. I love that we can see it in real time and see how long it takes. Yeah, it takes a while. But I've done these during live streams, so there's the whole process available for you guys. Though I don't like how much YouTube compresses the live streams. They're not super detailed when it comes to the like how well you can see the details. Like, it says it's 1080p, but it looks less to me, at least when I watch them back. I don't know. But yeah, it does take a while. Sculpting, like any great work of art, it takes time. So I'm just pushing things around, working on the texture now. Which sculptors are your inspiration? Yeah, I like Bernini. I mean, a lot of draftsmen inspire me. So, George Bridgman, his work, his way of treating the figure two-dimensionally, I think translates really well to sculpting. And so a lot of my abstract stone sculptures are inspired by George Bridgman's sketches, drawings. But then, modern sculptors, I got to mention, like Leroy Transfield is a sculptor I really admire today. He's a figurative artist. He's done some of the competitions, and he's basically won every sculpting competition that he's been a part of, that at least that I've been like competing against him, just because he has such an eye, and he's really disciplined himself, and he's been able to hire models for years to be able to work directly from a model, and it really shows through in his work that he just can quickly and accurately put clay in space in a way that feels right, and it feels interesting, and so he's just one of the most talented living sculptors today, I think. I also really like the work of Sabin Howard, I believe it is, and he's doing a monument, a World War II monument, and I love looking at the faces and the details of the hands and of these life-size figures that he's worked on that are just so impressive. So I'm inspired by that. I also really like, let's see, there's Eric Arneson, who has a YouTube channel that I really like. He teaches at the Florence Academy of Art. I like their stuff. And there's, let's see, what is this? Eric Arneson. Let's see, who's the other one? Rick Caselli. Rick Caselli's another artist, and he does workshops. I'd love to take one of his workshops at some point, because he's another sculptor that he was in the first competition that we did as back when Figure Sculptors United was Intermountain Figure Sculpture group with competitions with professional sculptors, and he was one of the competitors, but I realized that he was one of the first YouTube videos that I actually watched. He did a video on sculpting the mouth that I found to be really helpful, and so I didn't even realize, but he's one of the artists that have inspired me from the beginning of my sculpting journey. And so those are some of the names that come to mind, but there are many others. Jason Millward is a sculptor who took the time. We studied sculpture together. He was getting his master's degree. I was getting my BFA at Utah State University, and he took the time to show me his method for building wire armatures, which is what I teach on the Proco channel. So Jason Millward is to thank for that method that I really like for making wire armatures. And then the book, Modeling and Sculpting the Human Figure by Edward Lanterry. That's probably the book that I've used the most when it comes to sculpting technique and teaching. A lot of the stuff that I teach is based off of the principles in that book, so that's also a great resource. A sculptor that's inspired me. His sculptures are very inspirational. Do you take apprentices? Yeah, I probably will once I'm able to get out of the house. So right now I'm working on the studio, the outdoor studio space that's in our yard, but separate from the house. And I'd like to eventually be able to do workshops and also, take apprentices and or people that want to learn sculpting or come and work with me directly. That's something that I'd like to do, but I don't want to do that until it's out of the house because I want to have a separate space for it. But that is something that I'd be interested in doing, as well as those in-person workshops. So taking on apprentices or like intern type situations, because that's what I recommend for students. Like if you can go and study with a specific person, then that can be really beneficial. So that is something that I'd like to open up maybe starting this year, because the plan is to finish that sculpture studio, get it ready. But right now it's too cold to do anything in it. It's not insulated, and I still need to finish that. But I am interested in doing that. I think that would be a fun thing. And how much percent would you how much percent would you give talent and how much hard work when it comes to becoming a good sculptor? Please be honest. I'd say the like talent, I don't know if I believe in, well, I guess there are some people that are talented, and maybe I was naturally gifted more than the average. But I'd say a lot of what sculpting is just technique. It's just like training yourself in a craft, and that can be done by basically anyone. So if you're interested in learning the craft and you're willing to invest the time and energy and hard work to do it, then I think that's way more important than the skill. So I'd say like talent is maybe like 10% of the equation, and then interest, just being interested in the topic, that's like, well, what would we say? That's like 30%. So what are we at? 40% there? And then I'd say 60% is just hard work and just like working on it and practicing and sculpting over and over again for hours and hours and trying to build up that skill. But the interest, like just wanting to be good at sculpting is also a big part of the equation. Like if you're not 100% committed to become great, you won't become great at anything you pursue, because it's difficult to become great. And so you really have to have that greatness as a goal, and mastery as a goal if it's something that you want to achieve. Okay, let's see. How long have we been going? All right, I think, well, yeah, it's coming along. If you guys are, again, if you're interested in sculpting, I definitely recommend checking out the free resources that I've made available. There's a free PDF that's an assignment checklist for the Figure Sculpting Fundamentals course, and it has links to all of the free lessons. And you can find that in the video description if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, you can find it in the link in my bio. Just go down to PDF, the figure sculpting PDF. And it's free. You can download it. You can like watch the free video lessons and then do those assignments and submit images of them. And if you do that, and if you're consistent about it, then you can really improve. You can really get better. And so I encourage you to do that if you're interested in mastering sculpture. And then if you like the free content, then consider getting the full courses, the premium courses. I've worked really hard on those, and I think they're the best. They're the best courses out there. That's what I've tried to make, is the best course on figure sculpting that had all the information that I wish I knew. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to check out those resources. There's also a PDF for the portrait sculpting course. If you're more interested in the portrait specifically, that's a great resource. And there's a hand sculpting course to help you master one of the most difficult areas of the body, the hand. So I encourage you to check out all of those resources. They're there's something that I've worked really hard on, and I want to help people become good at sculpting. That's my goal. So if you can use those resources, even if it's just the free resources, then that's a great thing to do. Somebody's asking, is the muscle figure made of wax? Yeah, it's microcrystalline wax. It's a soft wax, soft sticky wax that's good for sculpting by hand. It's a great for that. Please do a video on wax sculpting on the weekend, please, sir. Yeah, maybe I could do another one of these gesture studies. I like these figure studies using brown microcrystalline wax. It's a soft wax, but it works great. It's not great for tooling, like the tools stick to it too much, but if you're just working by hand, then it's great for that. It doesn't stick to your hands, so it's good for that. If you don't mind the texture of your fingerprints all over the sculpture, then it's great for that. Let's see, I'm gonna stick this here so you guys can see the final, whoops, it's falling off. Or not the final, but where we're at right now. Still a work in progress. Let me zoom out. So yeah, maybe the next sculpture that I do will be using that microcrystalline wax, which can be fun. I think I got 10 pounds of it for like $60, but it might be more expensive now. Everything's more expensive, it seems. That was a while ago. How many languages can you speak? I just speak English and Spanish, so just two. So just two languages. All right. Oh, it says the memory card's full, so I ended just in time. There's the sculpture. I hope you check out those resources I provided. There's also my ebooks, an artist's X-ray vision, one on the male figure, one on the female figure. Also great resources for anybody interested in art. All right. Thank you, guys. Stay creative. Stay productive.